Hello and welcome to DES 103. This is week 4, our beginning vector illustration class, and this is our last live lecture for the mod. So cheer or cry or do a little bit of both, maybe a little dance. We are finally at the end of the mod, and I know some of you guys are going to be in crunch mode trying to get assignments turned in, not just for this class, but for the other classes you're in. So I know this is deadline week and it's going to be a little crazy for us all. So I want to welcome you to class, and I hope that you enjoy this demonstration I'll be doing. We're going to be doing quite a few demos, actually. We're going to be going over different tools. I'm going to introduce different tools to you. The last 3 weeks, we've been kind of building upon the pen tool, and we use the pencil tool, the shape tool. We've learned quite a bit. And I just want to welcome our newcomers who are coming in. Hey, Matthew, thanks for coming in today. Glad to have you. And we're going to be learning the Live Paint tool today, as well as the Shape Builder tool. So we have a lot of fun stuff planned, and you don't want to miss this one because I will be going into a lot of detail on how to do the week 4 final project. We have an assignment 4, so I'm not sure if you guys have had a chance to look at it. Have you all had a chance to look?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay, that's fine. That's okay. It is only Tuesday, so some of us are still trying to play catch up from the weekend. But, well, thanks for coming. We're about to jump into our lecture. So I'm going to go ahead and start the video. Just kind of say hello. I'll wave hello. Don't mind that big monstrosity in the background. That is our trampoline that I have yet to move out of our house. If it will stop raining, we'll get it out of our living room eventually. All right, let's talk about what we're going to go over in this class. So we're going to review a few issue areas from last week. A lot of students are struggling a little bit with the pen tool, and that's okay. The pen tool is probably one of the hardest tools to master, and the only thing I'll say is you just have to practice. It'll take time and practice. Even now, I mean, I'm several years, I'm a decade into my professional career, and I'm still learning new ways to add finesse to the pen tool. And so the pen tool is just going to take time, and eventually you'll get it and it will click and it'll be awesome and you'll hit the ground running. But until then, don't get too discouraged. You just got to practice. It's like riding a bike. And you're not going to get the first time. It's going to take a few stumbles, and then it'll just click like it was supposed to always be. So we'll review a few issue areas if we have any, and then we're going to go over what we're talking about in the discussion, and then the next 2 assignments. So we have an assignment and an assessment this week. And remember, no late submissions are accepted. In fact, once the class is over, so the last day, you get locked out of the class and there's no submitting. I've had students say, hey, I can't get in the class. I can't submit my final late. And that's just because they lock you guys out and there's nothing I can do. So just make sure that you try to get this in on time. Plan ahead, because this is finals week, everyone is going to be trying to submit their assignments not only for this class but for other classes, and just the bandwidth and the upload time just takes forever. Things crash, internet goes wrong. I mean, you name it. It's kind of like whenever I'm supposed to be somewhere, everything goes wrong and I'm always late. So just make sure you plan ahead for that, so you can kind of foresee those problems. We've got lots of demos today, so we're not going to be spending a whole lot of time in lecture, which is a good thing for you guys, and a good thing for me. I don't like talking a lot, just talking about stuff. I like to get my hands dirty. So I want to make sure that you're going to follow along. Go ahead and launch Illustrator as I'm talking and give you something to do while I'm kind of going over the housekeeping for the week. Hey, Apple, thanks for coming. I'm going to go ahead and mute the mics as everyone enters in, because it gives us a lot of feedback that makes it hard to hear. So, well, welcome. Thank you for coming. And then we're going to talk about the problem areas during this assignment. There's going to be quite a bit that we're going to be going over, and I want to make sure everyone understands the rubric and what to expect. All right. We went over the learning objectives. Okay, so for this, I need to change that. That should say week 4. For week 4, we're going to identify the functions of the Shape Builder tool. We're going to be talking about what can it do, and we're going to do a little practice in your own Illustrator. So we're going to create a fish. We're going to learn how to build a fish with the Shape Builder tool, and I want you to follow along. I want you to do the steps. I'm going to go very slow. And then if you feel so inclined, I'd love for you to share your screen and kind of show me where you're at. It doesn't have to look perfect. This is the first time we're using it. It's just so that we kind of have some fun. You're able to share your screen. I'm sharing my screen. We go back and forth. If there's more participation, it's a lot more fun in the class. And then also, if you run into problems, we can address those, because I guarantee you're not the only one. There's somebody watching the recording saying, I'm glad you asked that. So make sure we ask questions and kind of troubleshoot where we can. That's okay, Apple. Thanks for telling me. All right. Again, it's just a voluntary basis, and it's if only if you want to. Okay, so we're going to also learn how to use the distort tools in Illustrator. We kind of touched on how to do that a little bit in week 3 when we created the sunburst. So we won't go too much into that, but we're going to be going over assessment 3, which works with the transformation and distort tools. Then we're going to apply color and shapes to learn how to fill those with the swatches panel and use the live paint tool as well. So it's kind of like coloring for adults. It's kind of like going back to our coloring days when we would open a coloring book and just grab a marker. This is kind of a big kids digital way to paint and color. So it's a lot of fun. So follow along with me if you can. And then we're going to discuss advantages and disadvantages of using Adobe Creative Cloud. If you haven't already participated in the discussion, you're going to want to jump in. Tomorrow is the deadline to get your initial post in. Remember, minimum 150 words for that initial post. And don't just post the link if you shared a visual example or if you quoted somebody, but please make sure you style that in the APA. There's a lot of APA generators online these days that are free that will help you format it correctly. Also, the Student Success Center is available that can help you do that as well. But the most important thing is we want you active and live. This is how we take attendance in class, so stay active in the discussion. For this week's discussion, you're going to pretend you're working out in the field as a graphic designer. So pretend you landed that dream job, and your boss has come to you with a task. So your boss wants, they've heard of CC Libraries, and they're wondering which of the following clients it might work well for and which it won't. And then they want you to tell them why. So you're going to do a little bit of research on the Creative Cloud libraries. So we give you some situational examples. So client A is a regular customer, and then we talk a little bit about the company and what projects they need regularly. And then we talk about client B. They also have a different company. They're in newspapers and not auto. And then the overall format, what kind of projects do they need you to do as a designer? And then what elements are you going to need to change, and what would be practical for client A, B, and C? So it gives you scenarios, and we want you to talk about the why behind it and how you would use Creative Cloud libraries and what benefit it would be to which client, okay? And then this is going to require some kind of research, the how, the when, the where of Adobe CC libraries, how they're utilized, when and where, and then kind of decide by following each scenario. Would it be beneficial to create a library for this company, for the auto parts company, or the marketing company, or what about the newspaper company? And then tell us why or why not. And then talk about the elements. So this is going to require a little bit of digging, a little bit of research, but this is how we learn. So just remember for your citation, this is easy points, so just remember to include it. And you might use articles that show examples of the CC libraries that they use within the workplace. You can also find articles from excerpts that suggest when and how to use the CC libraries as well. I'm a big fan of visual examples, and I think it makes the discussion a lot more interesting. I tend to look at the visuals more than I do reading, lots and lots of text. Even though we are required to meet a minimum word count, I think it's more fun, and we'll learn more if we have visual examples. So do your best to find an example that kind of proves your point, because I think that would add a lot of substance to your post. Okay, and remember to use terminology we're learning and have learned this entire mod. And this is a great way to make some easy points. The discussions are worth 60 points. So just staying active and replying to peers. Don't just give them compliments, give them critiques as well, or maybe suggestions. Don't forget to ask questions. That's a big part of this discussion. Let's keep the discussion going. All right. And let's talk about the week 4 assignment, our final project. So for this assignment, you're going to apply all of the tools and the techniques learned in this class to create a family crest. Have you guys seen a family crest before? Do you know what that is? There's examples under the assignment, but I just want to make sure you've seen it before. So give me a yes if you've seen it before. You know what one is. And if you haven't seen one, you will. We're going to go over it. The crust needs to include a few things. It needs to have a background shield shape of some kind, and we're going to learn how to create that. Okay, awesome. So you already have a family crest. Awesome. So one of our students already has a family crest, so that would be cool to draw some inspiration from. And then you're going to need, so not only a shield, you'll need kind of a foreground ribbon or a banner shape of some kind, and I'll go over how to do that. And then a simple graphic or symbol, some illustration which connects to your family in a visual manner. So if your family's from Florida, my family, I'm from Texas, so maybe it's the Lone Star State. So maybe I would use a star to represent my family, or perhaps I live in California, so maybe I would and my last name is Woodland, so perhaps I'd probably come up with some kind of a tree or maybe use palm trees. Just something visually that represents something that represents me in some way, or my family, or where I'm from. So that's the idea here. And if you already have a family crest, awesome. Maybe you could pull some inspiration from that and kind of try to recreate it. All right. Are there any questions about the week 4 assignment? Anything that's stuck out to you so far? Okay, so our week 4 assignment, your actual family name needs to be spelled out. Remember, spell it correctly. And your finished file needs to be 8 inches by 8 inches. So that's going to be perfectly a square artboard. It's going to be a single artboard. Now, I'm using multiple artboards in my demo just because we've got a lot to go over, but you can use as many colors and effects as you like. You don't have to use just the tools we're learning today. You can use the pen tool, the pencil tool. We're going to be going over live paint and the shape builder tool. I want you to have fun. Use the shapes. We learned to create shapes. I want you to have fun and play with this. So before you submit your final artwork, I want you to make sure that all your text and everything is changed to outlines. Remember, we practiced that last week in our assessment 3. And then if you forgot how to do that, let me know and I'd be happy to go over it again. And this all ensures that I see the type as you've designed it, because what happens is if you forget to create outlines and you use a really fun font that I don't have installed on my computer, it will do a default font. And what happens with that is, 1, it doesn't look as cool. 2, it sometimes doesn't fit on the page. And 3, it sometimes letters get dropped off because it's not the sized or structured the way that you've designed it. So it can actually hurt your design work. So make sure you create outlines for your text so that I can see your font. Doing that vectorizes the font, and so so it'll display correctly. So that's why we encourage you to do that. Remember to upload your Illustrator file and save it correctly. You get points for saving it the right way. And then make sure it's the right file. Make sure, test it. This is your final assignment. Make sure that it opens for you too, okay? We want to make sure that it's saved correctly, because normally I'd go in and say, hey, it didn't open. Can you resubmit it? Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to do that this time. So just make sure everything works, okay? And what I highly recommend, is if you're able to get a jump start on this project and come in on Thursday, you can submit it then, and I'll give you a grade on the spot and feedback as well before you submit it. So what that does is it not only ensures that I can see your file and everything is good to go, but you also get your grade and you don't have to wait over the weekend to receive it. So, and it ensures that you're going to get an A. So make sure that you come and utilize the time that we have together. So Thursday, same time, 7:30 to 9:30 Mountain Standard Time. Now, if that doesn't work for you and that's our schedules just don't align, that's okay. The Student Success Center is also there to kind of give you some grading feedback, as well as our learning coach that we have for this class. Her name's Wanda Bryant. So her contact info is also posted under the announcement section of the course homepage. And you can check her out and go reach out to her, email her. Her hours are also posted, so she'll be in the Student Success Center once you look at her schedule. And I just posted week 4's schedule, so that is all up and ready to go. Here is a family crest. They can come in lots of different shapes and sizes and styles because every family is different. So you're going to have different symbols that represent your family in different ways. This one on the right represents a army family, and so they've got the guns and the stars, and the colors even are representative of the army. And they've created really nice banners. They've got the shield, the shape, and then their name is nice and big. So this is a neat example. And then the one on the left here, this one, obviously, from Ireland. So they've got the clover here. And this is a good representation of where they're from. They've got the name and a nice shaped shield. So this is these are very good examples of what we're here to expect. We don't want it. We don't need it to be. You'll notice as you Google search family crest that there's going to be very intricate, detailed ones out there. And yes, you could spend tons of time making one, but we just want to make sure you have the basic elements. Do you have a shield? Do you know how to create a banner? And is there a symbol and your name on it? So that's kind of what we're looking for. And if you hit those marks, you're going to do well. So don't get too overwhelmed with what's out there. These are very simple examples that demonstrate what we're looking for and what will get you an A. Okay, so here is a new thing that they've implemented, this mod and this class. They're actually testing it out. And so for this assessment, you are going to create a short video. So you are going to be filling in my shoes. You're going to create something that's 7 minutes or less, showing and demonstrating what you've learned, some kind of basic function of the Transform tool. Now, the week 4 assessment, don't worry, it gives you a document to download. And I want you to go in right now to our course homepage, and I want you to go to assessment 4, and I want you to locate that document. Get it downloaded because we're going to be going through those steps, and I will demonstrate it how it would need to be on a video, and we'll go over each step for you so you know how to create the document. You're going to follow the instructions. You're going to demonstrate it on your video. And there's, like I said, the attached worksheet goes step by step. So with some practice, you're going to be able to complete it in about 7 minutes or less. The video example, you'll definitely want to watch. That one's only about 4 minutes and 15 seconds. So it doesn't need to be very long. In fact, if you just practice it a few times and then hit record, you should be able to get it down pretty quickly. But once you can, record yourself doing it in Zoom and then upload your recording to the gradebook. And then be sure to review the benchmark examples for tips on how to use the tools. So I'll do a demonstration for you. Watch the demo and the assessment. This is kind of cool because you guys get to demo to me. Usually it's the other way around. I'm constantly teaching you guys how to do something. So I want you to teach me how to use the Transform tool and the functions that are within it. Then you're going to, so basically we need to save our recording as an MP4, and you're going to need to submit this MP4 file. This is what you're submitting. Make sure you name it correctly, and then you're going to submit your Illustrator file that you've done the demo in. So not only do I get to see your Illustrator file, but I get to watch you demonstrate how you did your assignment. And then you'll submit both of those. So remember, 2 files for this assignment. I'm going to mark this in red so that you can see. We'll need 2 files to complete this assessment. So this is kind of neat. Don't let it be too intimidating if you're not good in front of the camera or whatever. You can just read it as long as you're demonstrating to me how you got your final results. Are there any questions about the week 4 assessment? There's a lot going on this week. So give yourself some time. But a big hint here is to watch the video on the assessment page. It really shows you exactly what your video should look like and walks you through exactly how to do the project. So I want to make sure that, and we'll watch a little bit of this just so that we can make sure we're all on the same page. All right. So with that said, are there any questions about week 3 that you would like to go over before we jump into our demos for this week? If not, we'll just go right into it. Couldn't figure out how to make shoulders. Okay, no problem. So what we're going to do, I'll close out of here real quick, and then I'll pull up my Illustrator, and I'll go over kind of how to do shoulders. That's a good question. Sometimes it's easy when we have a template, but then when they take the template from us or we don't have a template to trace, it can kind of get a little confusing. So I think my Illustrator's thinking. Hope it doesn't crash on me this time. That was a lot of fun last week. All right. I'm going to go ahead and close out of PowerPoint here so we can speed things up a little bit. Bear with me just 1 second. All right. All right, still doing some thinking. It's not sure if it likes this template. Okay, there we go. All right, so because it's running so slow, I'm not going to open up week 3 because I'm not sure what it's going to do, but I'm going to delete this template because it's wigging out on me. Okay, so to do some basic shoulders, so here's the face. Okay, this will be our face. Make it black so we can see. Now, to do shoulders, you could either draw them. So you could grab the pencil tool and you can kind of draw shoulders like that. See if I can do it better. And then grab these. So you could just draw the shape. You can continue it. And it just had to be, shoulder length. So then you could also come in here and do like a V-neck shirt or kind of the curve on the shirt. And it doesn't have to be perfect right now. Obviously, I'm doing kind of a quick and dirty. Scoot this in. So you could do that, and then you could either fill it. If you wanted to fill all of these, you just select them all. Oops. So you could draw it like this, or I saw some, just drawing a shirt. You could do a shirt. So if you, depending if you have a V-neck or not. So the shoulders, you're just going to kind of have to eyeball. It doesn't have to be perfect. You could also use the pen tool for this because it's just supposed to be cut off like this. And then you can get the smooth tool and kind of round it out so it's a little bit more uniform. So it doesn't have to be very intricate. You could add some detail to it. So you could even, let me see. Also, what you could do is go to Google and look up like a shoulder vector, or you could try to look up someone's just a vector body. Let's see. I'm going to go to Vector or Google and see if I can find something. And then you could pull it into Illustrator and you could trace it. Here's another thing you could do. You might not need necessarily shoulders, but you could do like a collared shirt. So you could extend, grab the pen tool. Kind of, this is using the pen tool is a little bit neater. Kind of eyeball it. And then grab these little anchor points to kind of get it the right shape that you want. Takes a little bit of tweaking. Kind of bring it up here. This is going to be the neck. Okay, and then I'm just going to draw a collar. So a very simple one. Let me turn off my fill. And remember, you kind of have to go back around. Just like this. And then you can give it a different fill. In this case, I'll do like a light blue shirt. Like that. And you can grab the smooth tool to go over these lines a little bit more. There we go. And then you could draw a tie, kind of fill it in. Make his tie red. And grab the pen tool again. And then use it one more time. So you don't have to do full-on shoulders. We just want to see that you're extending the picture and kind of using your imagination a little bit to your creativity to kind of fill in the rest of the picture. So there's the tie, and then there's the face, the neck. So I don't know about you, but I would just keep it as simple as possible. So does that kind of help answer questions? Kind of just as long as it doesn't have to be full on shoulders. Another thing you could do is pull in a picture that you find from just online, and you can just trace it with your pen tool or your pencil tool. And I'm going to switch that just like this. And it just has to be something simple, so nothing too complicated. We just want to see that you can use the pen tool and you're using your imagination a little bit. So there's your shoulders. So just kind of tracing the basic shape of them will help. And then you can kind of use the smooth tool to round out the shoulder if they're not rounded out enough. So there's your t-shirt if you wanted to use that instead. So does that help? Yeah, no two shoulders are going to look alike. You can do just kind of a little trace, or you can create a little extension of the neck, so like a little shirt and necktie. That would be sufficient. That would fulfill the assignment. You could just go find some random picture online just to trace the outline of it. That would work as well. So yeah, something very simple. Hopefully that kind of helps you. I know it's a little intimidating trying to trace shoulders. But it's a lot easier if you have something to trace. So go online and find a little clip art or something that you can just trace the shoulder width. All right, awesome. Any other questions from week 3? That's a great question. All right. So let's jump into see what we got here. I want to show you the video. Okay, 1 second. I'm going to pull up the video for our assignment 4. I want you to watch this, and then we're going to jump into our demos. Because it's important that we see this. Not everybody takes the time to watch these, and I really think this will help you. So I'm going to go into our assignments. So does everyone have the assessment 3 or assessment 4 file downloaded? All right. Here is the first video. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the share. We're going to go into video. And just let me know if you don't hear anything.
Hi, I'm Janae Meadows with JanaeMeadows.com, and today I'm going to show you how to use the Shape Builder tool in Illustrator. Okay, so first things first, you're going to need a couple of shapes if you're going to use the Shape Builder tool. So I've got a square and a circle. Then I'm going to go over to this new cool tool. It's over right in the middle of the tool palette. Looks like a couple of circles with a cursor. You can also hit Shift-M to bring it up. I'm just going to click it right there. All right, so first things first, you need a couple of shapes in order to use the Shape Builder tool. I got a square and a circle, and I'm just going to overlap them. And I'm going to select both of them. And then I'm going to go over and select my Shape Builder tool or hit Shift-M. And you can see now when I put my mouse over it, things darken in. And you got a little plus symbol there too. Check him out. Now watch what happens when I click and drag. You see a line, a little tail end comes over. And now it just joined those two shapes together. Do it from the square to the circle, same deal. Now if you hit Option, it turns to a negative. And I can just click in that middle piece there and watch. Choose. Punched it right out. So it's a quick, handy way, instead of going to the Pathfinder and having to like choose those options, you can just go to your Shape Builder tool and quickly do what you want to do with your shapes.
All right. So this is a little introduction to the Shape Builder tool, which we're going to go into now. So I want you to jump over to Illustrator. We're going to do a little exercise, and I'd like for you to work along with me. I think you'll learn more that way. So I'm going to expand my Illustrator here. Okay. Introduction to what the Shape Builder tool does. So just bear with me real quick. All right. So what you're going to learn here today is using the Shape Builder tool and how to combine shapes. We've been learning how to do that. We've been practicing combining shapes a lot. So we're gonna do a little demo. So here's this little fishy guy. This is what your final design will look like. So I want you to follow along step by step if you can. What this is going to do, this demo is going to provide you with a foundation for working with Adobe Illustrator panels. It's also basically a really good introduction for combining shapes using the Shape Builder tool in Illustrator. So in this portion of the lecture, you're going to have the opportunity to create an illustration using a drawing feature called the Shape Builder tool. And just like she demonstrated where you can find it, it's on your toolbar right here. Just 2 circles and a little arrow. So by using the Shape Builder tool, you can create unique shapes by adding, subtracting, and intersecting one shape from another. And we're going to learn how to do that. So in the first one, we're going to grab an ellipse tool. That's the first shape we're going to start with. You click, hold shift as you drag. We'll start with that. And I like to fill my shapes for now, just so that I can see them. But if you'd like, you can just switch the stroke. you can see it a little bit easier, see what's going on. What the Shape Builder tool does is it takes the mystery out of what the Pathfinder tool does. Do you remember I'll click once, grabbing my triangle. So you just need a triangle and a circle for now. And then we're going to rotate this triangle, hold down Shift, kind of bring it in. So remember, we use the Pathfinder tool a lot, the minus front, the intersect, the merging, and how that creates lots of different effects. Well, the Shape Builder tool kind of takes the mystery out of it, because before we were just clicking buttons trying to get a certain effect. In this case, the Shape Builder tool allows you to interact with the objects a little bit more and allows you to see what's going on. It makes a little bit more sense. So I've got the triangle overlapping the circle, kind of make them proportionate. So if your fish is small, you'll want to make the shapes proportionate to each other. And now I'm going to select both of them. I'm going to grab my Shape Builder tool, and I'm going to, if you hover over each shape, it automatically highlights a hotspot. But in order to combine these shapes, I'm going to click and hold and drag a line through both of the shapes. When I do that, it combines the shapes. So I'll do that again. If you click and hold and drag, it's combining, it's merging those two shapes. So it's kind of cool. Next, we're going to create the mouth of the fish. So we're going to need another ellipse, another circle. Hold down Shift as you click and drag. That will make a perfect circle. And then we're going to kind of squish this up and down a little bit, and I'm going to make this mouth kind of right there in the center. Now, again, we need to highlight both of the objects. Grab your Shape Builder tool, and we're going to click and hold and drag from the right. I'm sorry, click and hold. Oh, we're not dragging. So I'm sorry. So hold down Alt Option, and if you do that, you'll notice, let me zoom in here so you can see, holding down Alt Option now changes your arrow to a minus. So that will allow me to minus or subtract any one of these hotspots. So I'm going to hold down minus and subtract this portion, and I'm also going to subtract that line. So now it gives me the shape of the mouth. So before we were merging, now we are subtracting elements. So does everyone follow along? Does that make sense? So by selecting both shapes and holding down the Alt Option key, you can either drag within the ellipse shape to subtract it or just click it. So I'll back up here. So with the Shape Builder tool selected, I can hold down Alt Option, click and drag from the right, and that will delete it, or you can just single click the hotspot that you want to get rid of. So now we have a shape, the shape is coming along, so we have a fish with an open mouth. So you're going to use the Shape Builder tool for one last time to add a shape on top of the fish to create the fin. So again, we're going to grab our ellipse tool. I'm going to just, I don't really care about the shape right now. I'm just going to be drawing it roughly so it looks like a fin, kind of positioning it downward a little bit. And then I want to select, whoops. I want to select these two objects. So by holding down the Control or the Command, depending on if you're on a Mac or PC, if you hold down the Control or the Command key and notice that even though you're on the ellipse tool, the cursor is changed into the selection cursor. So that's kind of cool. See, like that, say it's they're selected. And with the selection cursor, you can click and drag a marquee that touches both the ellipse and the object, just to make sure they're all highlighted like that. This activates both shapes, so the fish body shape and the circle. So that's kind of the idea. So we want to make sure that these are all selected, and then I'm going to grab my Shape Builder tool, and I'm going to, let's see. So then with both of the shapes selected, the Shape Builder tool selected as well, you're going to click and drag from the area where the ellipse and the fish and the body meet. So we're going to, whoops, kind of click through it like this. Click, make sure it's all selected. Grab the selection tool, or I'm sorry, the Shape Builder tool, and just kind of click and drag. And what that does is it kind of gives it a little hotspot area. Now you can choose to send this to the back. So right click, send to the back. Or what you can do is with them selected, you can grab your shape builder tool and just kind of minus these pieces, and that will send that fin, giving it the illusion that it's sent to the back. All right, so I'll back up. Once you've drawn your ellipse and selected your fish and the circle, grab your shape builder tool and just hold down the Alt Option button on your keyboard and just delete that line. And what that does is it gives you the illusion that there's a fin behind it. So that that subtracts that shape, that little arc. So let's create the fish's eyes. So you're going to add an eye to the fish illustration. Hold down a circle, draw a big circle, and then I'm going to make a copy by holding down Alt Option. And I'm going to make this one a lot smaller. And I'm going to highlight both of them and just kind of position it on the fish like so. And then select the fish as well. You're probably going to want 2 sets of eyes, so I'm going to make a copy. We'll see if I want to fill it in eventually. But once you have your eye positioned, you're going to use the selection tool and kind of reposition the circle so that it's approximately the correct position for the eye that's kind of furthest away. So I'll put this one over here, kind of close by, just like that. And then I'm going to select all of these, and I'm going to grab my shape builder tool, and I'm going to minus this line so that it doesn't go through the eyeball. And then anything else that I need, if I need these two to overlap a little bit, I'm just going to bring it over. And then I'm going to select the eyes again and grab my shape builder tool, and I'm going to just select minus on this one. So it looks like that eye is overlapping. He's kind of looking a little cross-eyed, so I'm trying to arrange his eyes so that it doesn't look so crazy. All right, but when the cursor changes to a double arrow, you can click and drag outward. So by selecting something, holding the Alt Option button will allow you to make a copy of that by clicking and dragging. You'll see that when you highlight something and hold down Alt Option, you have a black and a white arrow. So you've got that double arrow. That allows you to initiate the copy. So that's how I made a copy of that. So this is the illustration with the eyes added. You can just save it, or you can, or don't save it, but he's kind of cute, so I would save it. So that is how you use the Shape Builder tool. It's pretty simple. It allows you to intersect and merge and also subtract. And those are the 3 basic functions. It's very important to know how to add, subtract, and to intersect one shape from another. Are there any questions? I would like you to try this if you can, and I'll go nice and slow so that we can follow along. But first, I'd like you to start with the ellipse tool and then grab a triangle. You can click once with the polygon tool selected and just enter in 3 sides. Hovering over the anchor point, clicking and dragging. If you hold down Shift, it will lock it into place. And then I want you to practice overlapping these shapes. Maybe you don't want to build a fish. Maybe you just want to practice overlapping 2 shapes and merging them. So highlight these shapes, grab the Shape Builder tool, and then by clicking and dragging a line through both of these shapes, you've now merged them. So that gives you the overall body of that fish. This is kind of a neat way to construct illustrations by using the Shape Builder tool. It's a lot, I think it's a lot easier to use than the Pathfinder tool. You kind of have to, it's a guessing game with the Pathfinder tool, whereas when you use the Shape Builder tool, you know exactly what to do to the shape to get your specific result. And so that's why the Shape Builder tool happens to be very easy to learn and pick up. Basically, you're going to be able to create these fundamental shapes just using the Shape Builder tool, and that's a lot of fun to do. Yeah, absolutely. So let's practice merging one more time. So if you have two shapes, and it doesn't have to be a circle or a square, it can be whatever shape you want. But in this case, I've got a triangle, and I'll do a star for fun. Triangle and a star. Just make sure that the shapes are overlapping in some way. Okay. So in this case, we've got them overlapping quite a bit. Just make sure they're both highlighted. So select each shape. Then select your Shape Builder tool, which is right here. It's kind of the middle of the toolbar. This is your Shape Builder tool. And automatically, when you click on your Shape Builder tool, the areas turn to hotspots. But we're just going to click once and drag through both shapes. It will draw a line, and then when you release it, it combines those shapes. So just simply, I'll now back up to do that again. You'll see that your mouse has a plus sign. So click and drag through both shapes, and it will merge them. So when I used the circle and the triangle, it allowed me to create the body of the fish, which is kind of cool. It's nice and neat. Oops, I don't want a star. I want a triangle. Okay, so I'm going to shrink this down a little bit, and then I'm going to overlap it on this circle. Just make sure that they're both selected, and make sure that your Shape Builder tool here is selected. Click and drag through both shapes, and then it will merge them. Does that help answer your question? So I want you to take a minute or two and just practice merging these shapes. You don't have to create a fish if you don't want to, but if you'd like to share your screen to kind of show that you've merged two things together, that would be pretty neat. Just let me know if you'd like to share. And then just kind of practice now adding the fin at the top. Like this. You can kind of even angle it if you want it to. But just make sure that both shapes are selected, and then you grab your Shape Builder tool. This is where you can delete. So I hold down Alt Option and I just kind of delete this portion here, and it kind of gives it the illusion that the fins are in the back. If you wanted to get fancy, you could draw, little scales. But right now we're demoing how to do the Shape Builder tool, so you don't have to go into detail. I'm just getting carried away with the pencil tool. So now that you've deleted or subtracted that arc, now you can practice drawing your eyes. So I usually like to draw, when I'm drawing, to draw one set of something, and then I copy so I don't have to duplicate my work. And then I just position these eyeballs where I want them to go. So I'm going to kind of overlap this one, and then these ones are going to overlap. So I'm going to zoom in here, and with these eyes, they all look cross-eyed. How sad. Just make sure they're all selected so that the eyes and the body of the fish are selected. And then holding down the minus will subtract these little lines that are going through your eyeball. So now it looks like they're on top of his head and not, gives it more of a two-dimensional look a little bit. All right, any questions on how to merge, how to subtract, or how to add with the Shape Builder tool? This is a fun little demo I like to do. It's kind of neat to see how you get the results and to practice using it. The more you use the Shape Builder tool, the more you're going to appreciate the Pathfinder tool. But I do think it's a lot more user friendly than the Pathfinder. All right, and now we're going to learn about the Paint Bucket tool. Are there any questions before I move on about this specific tool, though? Would anyone like to share their screen share what they've been doing. Maybe you don't have to have a fish, but maybe show that you know how to merge shapes. Anyone like to share? Hi, Sinra. Thanks for coming today. Sorry I didn't welcome you earlier. Perfect. Okay, Matthew's the first one up, and then we'll, so I'll stop the share, Matthew. If you'll click on Zoom, if you'll click share screen, it's got the two windows overlapping each other. I don't know if you see that icon. But if you click that icon that says share screen, perfect. Yeah, awesome. Okay, so he has merged his triangle and his circle. Very, very good. And he's got the fin place, so that's awesome. Very good. And to make sure that we subtract the mouth, just make sure you subtract instead of add on the shape builder. But yeah, I can see that you have combined your circle and your triangle. Very, very good. That's awesome. Yep, and that merges them. Very good. So Matthew's got the hang of it. He knows how to merge them. Now we can practice how to subtract them. Thank you, Matthew, for sharing. Your fish is coming along nicely. I like it. Very, very nice. Well, hopefully you were following along because the next demonstration will be a lot of fun if you can get something drawn. But what we're going to do, I'm going to delete this little guy here. What we're going to do is talk about the Live Paint tool. Have any of you worked with the Live Paint tool before in your other classes? Probably not, but if you have, or maybe you've practiced a little bit with it, just kind of curious. Okay, so Sindra, that's a good question. This is not for the assignment or the assessment. We're getting into that. We're going over how to use the tools so that we can use them for our assignment. So if you'd like to just follow along, this is not for our final yet. We're going to go into that demo very, very quickly. Okay, so we're going to learn how to use the Live Paint tool. We're learning the tools that will help us create our final project. That's the idea here. We're going to practice coloring in our fish. Now, once a laborious activity, adding colors or painting defined areas in Adobe Illustrator is a lot easier when the Live Paint Bucket tool is used. And so using the Live Paint Bucket tool, it's going to allow you to add color and paint areas quickly and easily. And it works much like the traditional paint bucket in Adobe Photoshop. Have you guys used the paint bucket in Photoshop? So basically, it's in the same section as your shape builder tool. So you're going to hold down and select your Live Paint Bucket tool. Okay. So as you can see on my mouse has now changed to a paint bucket and a little arrow in the middle. And this paint bucket, whereas if we were in Photoshop, you'd position the paint bucket over where you wanted to paint. Well, the arrow in the middle actually indicates where the hot spot's going to be. So you want to position your little arrow that's in the middle where you want it to highlight or paint, okay? So that's first things first. And then once you have it selected, you can select all of the vector objects at one time if you'd like, or you can do one at a time. But you would simply select the Live Paint Bucket tool from the tool menu like I demonstrated here. So make sure you can locate it. And then you're going to pick the area that you want to color, that you want colored, and the vector will fill in the current fill color. So I'll highlight this fish for you. We're going to highlight our objects, and I'm going to grab this Live Paint Bucket. So now you can see if I hover over my vector objects, it kind of highlights everything here. So it's saying, do you want to make a group of this? What do you want to color? All right, and then what we're going to do is switching colors is very easy, and I'll get to that point. But the first thing, I put a little 4-step process here to activate your Live Paint Bucket and to get your objects ready. You're going to go to Object, scroll all the way down to Live Paint. You're going to click on Make, and then you're going to go back to Object, select Live Paint, and go to Expand. By doing that, it kind of activates this area to be ready for your paint bucket. So I'm going to select a color, and as I highlight over something, it kind of initiates where the hotspot's going to be. So he can be an orange fish, or and what I can do is I can grab my color picker and I can make him a blue fish. Or what I can do is I can go to my swatches. So I'm going to bring up my window and swatches like this. I can add this swatch in if I like it from the color picker. And I can use my arrows on the arrow key. So there I've created my fishy guy. And now I want to do the eyes. So I'm going to select those. And I'm going to give him, let's see, what color eyes does he want? He wants these to be black. Keep his eyes white. So now I've got him all colored in. I can change his fin to a different color. It can be a cool patterned fish, or maybe he's got a gradient. Grab my paint bucket tool. And I can use my arrow, my left and right arrow keys to kind of scroll through all of my swatches. So that's kind of nice. So left and right, it changes these colors. Oh, okay. Hit okay. So now he's all colored in and he looks great. So that's the idea behind the Live Paint Bucket tool. So in the box that appears, you can, I did want to go over one thing. You'll notice that when you're drawing, or perhaps as you're filling in things, especially if you've traced it and then uploaded it to your computer, you might have not colored in a certain section, or lines don't connect. It will wind up filling in all the gaps. So what you can do, and I don't really have an example of that, but I'll show you this way so that you can kind of have an idea of what I'm talking about. I'm just going to copy multiple circles within each other and show you what the Live Paint Bucket can do. All right. So in this case, I'm going to grab the pen tool, and I'm just going to make an example for you. I'm just going to delete one of these anchor points. All right, this is an extreme example, but if it was a lot smaller, this would give me the result. So I'm going to highlight this, go to Object, Live Paint, Make, then go to Object, Live Paint, Expand, and then go to Object, and then grab my Live Paint bucket. And now this will allow me to fill in the different hotspots. However, when I go to this next ring, if I were to do pink, it fills in all of it. And just let's say I just wanted that ring around that inner circle to be pink, and then the inner circle I wanted to be a different color. I can go to Object, Live Paint, and then go to Gap Options. So if some vector objects are not completely closed, the Live Paint Bucket tool may not fill them in. So to fix this, you can go to Object, Live Paint, and click on Gap Options. And in this box that appears, you can click on the custom option. You can choose custom gaps here. You can choose the exact mathematical number, which point size gap that you want the Live Paint Bucket to fill in. But now you can use the Live Paint Bucket to fill in areas that have gaps or values, because you can say, I want you to locate all the medium gaps or all the large gaps, and it will locate it for you. In this case, it's not going to work because I purposely got rid of that exterior part. But if you were to upload a tracing or something that didn't have the gaps closed very well, say the butterfly picture that you traced in Illustrator last week, or I think that was week 2, that would be an appropriate place to close gaps. So that's where you would go. Let's see. And then when I use Adobe Illustrator to color images, you want to use the Live Paint Bucket tool in conjunction with other brush tools. This way, you're able to add the illusion of a light source and shadows very quickly and easily. So just be sure to duplicate your original ink layer first before you go into doing other brushes and strokes. But this is a fun tool to use, and it's really simple to use. You'll find that it's very user friendly and it's kind of fun. It's kind of like coloring in a color book. Are there any questions about the Live Paint Bucket tool? That's a good question. So how does the fish look like? It has a sort of gradient. It's lighter in some areas. That's a great question. It does have a gradient. In my swatches, I just had a preset gradient. To create a gradient, though, you can just select what you want to change. Let's get out of Live Paint Bucket. I'm going to go to my gradient tool and see if I can get it activated. I'll double click on my gradient tool and it pops up a little panel like this. Depending on what kind of gradient you want, if you just click down here, see, we want linear, yeah. Or in this case, I have radial, so I do that. And it looks like my Live Paint Bucket is still activated, so let me grab a different shape to show you. All right, I'll grab my gradient, double click. All right, there you go. You can see my circle now has that gradient. Now, by double clicking on this little, this little gradient slider here, it will bring up my swatches. So just double click on it and I can come up with my own custom gradient. So for this one, say I wanted it to be red and this one I want to be pink. I can use the slider to adjust how heavy or how intense I want the gradient. I can even add more sliders to this, or I can delete them. So in this case, I'm going to do a red and a pink, or a red and a purple, or even yellow and a pink. That's just to show you the difference. So if I wanted yellow, and then this one I want to do green, kind of make it look fishy. If you adjust the gradient slider, it will adjust how much of one color you want. You can have multiple sliders with different colors. You can just add them by clicking on this bar here, and you can add different colors in. Now, less is more in this case, so we don't want to go too crazy with our gradients. And if you pick two very similar colors, it gives you a very subtle gradient. If I wanted to make this white, though, then I'd have that green area in. So I'm going to use this nice green and yellow gradient. And once your gradient tool is selected on your toolbar, you can click and drag anywhere, and it will change the direction of your gradient. So you don't have to just be stuck with what it defaults to. Just depending on where you draw your gradient line, it can change. And then even on this gradient slider, you can change within the tool. You can adjust how much yellow or how much orange or green is displaying. So that's how you get it lighter in some areas. And if you like this custom gradient, you can add it to your swatches panel by clicking on New Swatch, and then that will add it in. You can give it a name, and we'll add it in right there. So as you're doing the Live Paint Bucket tool, say you wanted to use that green, now he's green by selecting that color. So it's kind of a fun way to use the tool. And gradients are awesome because they do kind of create, I don't know, they give it a little bit more character than just kind of a one-dimensional color. Great question. Any other questions? All right. If no other questions, we are going to go to our 10-minute break. When we come back, I'm going to demo the assessment for you. We're going to learn how to do the assessment, and then we're going to jump right into our final project, our assignment 4. So what I'd like you to do is download that Word document and assessment 4 so that you can follow along the steps with me. And then I'm going to demo how to do it. You'll have to watch the video on how to create your Zoom recording, but I will show you exactly how you'll step me through it, okay? All right, we will stop the share and we'll come back. We'll be back in 10 minutes. Yeah, I sure can, Matthew, no problem. So want to see how to minus shapes. Absolutely. Let me stop the share. Go back in here. So by clicking and dragging over two shapes, that will merge them, right? So now if I have two, so if I was going to do the mouth, what I would do here is grab my shape builder tool and hold down the minus button. First, you're going to want to make sure that the fill is turned off, as this will help you. So grab the shape builder tool. If you hold the minus button, this will allow you to delete. So hold the Alt Option button on your keyboard. Alt Option will change the cursor to a subtraction, and this is where you can subtract. Or hold down Alt Option with your shape builder tool and click and drag into the area that you want to delete. So it's the same concept. You're clicking and dragging, but you're holding down Alt Option to do it. That's okay. So what you're going to do is hold down Alt Option key, and then you're going to click and drag your mouse over the shapes that you want to subtract. All right. Would you like to share your screen and we can practice it, or did it work for you? Okay, awesome. All right, well, we'll go to a 10-minute break and then we'll come back, but this is a good thing to practice because you're going to need it for our assignment 4 tutorial. So do practice if you can. More practice, the better. All right, guys. So are we experts on how to use the Live Paint tool and the Shape Builder tool? We getting the hang of it a little bit? All right, so we're going to jump into our next tutorial, and we're going to talk about our week 4 assignment. So to create a family crest. Yes, an expert, yeah. Yeah, well, it'll take some practice, but you guys are already picking it up so quickly. So, all right, let's go over, actually, I'm going to shift gears here. Let's go over the assessment really quick. This one's a quick demo. I will leave it up to you to watch the video on how to create a recording because I can't really demo that because I am using Zoom right now. So I'll just leave it up to you to watch that video, but watching it will definitely help you. So for the second portion of the assessment, I'm going to demo. And if you will go ahead and pull up your document that you downloaded. So basically, why this is relevant is that the transform and distort tools within Illustrator were created to assist artists, graphic artists, in completing complex shape shifting with just a simple click or two of the mouse. So that's what's really cool about this. The tools are intuitive, they're very easy to use, and similar to those similar to those in Photoshop if you've used Photoshop at all. And so this really expedites the learning curve if you're even familiar with a little bit of it. Once again, though, in the field, time is money, and having an understanding of these tools will really increase your productivity and enhance workflow. So what we're going to do is I'm going to start with a new artboard. I'm going to just kind of click and drag over here. Oops. You're going to want to set up your document to be, I believe it's 8 by 8. So you'll set up a new document. You go to File, New. I'll make sure it's, let me double check that. Hold on. It doesn't really say what size it should be. So 8.5 by 11 should be just fine. Okay, so I'm gonna go in here and kind of delete my squares. So I'm going to demo this kind of like the way that I would expect you to demo it, okay? We're going to be talking about the transform tools. They can be found in several places within Illustrator. So what I'd like you to do is start off by drawing 3 squares and giving them 3 different colors, but shades of a color. So if you click on similar shades so that it will create your cube quite nicely. But basically, these transform tools can be found in several places within Illustrator. So including under the object menu. So if you go to the drop-down menu, object transform. So it is right up here at the top. It's the first one. So object transform. And then under the window menu, if you go to window, you go all the way down here to transform and you click that, it will bring up a transform box. So this is your transform panel. It will allow you to make adjustments in this area. So basically there's the 2 places. So under the object menu and then under the window menu. And within the toolbar, you can rotate, reflect, scale, shear, and free transform are considered transform tools. So here's your rotate tool right here. And you can do all different kinds of scale with the selection tool. Lots of different options. So what I'm going to have you do is grab your rectangle tool and you're going to just click and drag, hold down shift to create a square. And then you hold down Alt Option to make a copy of that square. I definitely recommend having your smart guides turned on for this one. Move this out of the way. So what you can do is go to View, Smart Guides. Make sure it's checked so that things will align into place. You can highlight these 3 and go to your Align panel found under the Window menu. So make sure the Align panel is open. And this, or your Align settings are up here at the top. But this will allow you to kind of align everything centered. So make sure your squares are aligned. and then give them each a color. So this one's dark blue. I'm going to make this one maybe a darker blue, and maybe this one just a lighter color. So there's 3 different colors here going on. All right, so that's how you'll start. So 3 different colors, and then you're going to highlight these, hold down your Alt Option button, click and drag a second copy. So what we're doing is we're making a copy of this, and let me grab my Word document so that I can follow along the steps with you. All right, so I'm going to close out of the boxes I'm not using. So I'll need my transform tool here. I'm going to turn off my align tool. So we're going to use the steps in the worksheet. So basically we need a Illustrator 8.5 by 11, a new document. So I'm going to demo it. You're going to go to File, New. My Illustrator likes to think. It takes forever. I think I have too much open at one time. So I apologize for that. So you'll just enter in your value, 8.5 by 11 inches. We want the orientation to be portrait. Here's where you're going to name it. Your DES 103 underscore assignment 4, first and last name. Okay, and then you only need one artboard for this, and you'll hit create. I'm going to zoom out so you can see my artboard. I'm going to grab my rectangle tool, and I'm going to click once on the artboard. The instructions ask that we create 3 squares that are 1.5 inch by 1.5 inch, so 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches. Hit OK, and that creates a square for me. I'm going to hold down Alt Option, and I'm going to click and drag to create 3 squares. With my Smart Guides on, they'll all align properly. I'm going to go to my Align tool, make sure that they're aligned correctly. Just like that. And we're going to fill the squares in with 3 different colors. We're going to take off the stroke. So I'm going to turn my stroke off. And with square number 1, give it a blue. With this square, I have my color picker here so I can pick a lighter color. And then with this one, I want this a little bit more blue. So I'll do a darker version. Okay, so I've got 3 different shades here. My stroke is turned off. Now to create dimension with this project, they recommend that we start with a lighter color and then create a darker version of it for the second square and then a darker one for the third square. So that's kind of what I've done here. Then it asks us to transform all heights to a very specific percentage. So I'm going to select all 3 squares. I'm going to make a copy. I'm going to select the bottom 3, and I'm going to, sorry, Zoom's settings are in the way. Okay, now I'm going to go to transform up here, or you can open your transform panel. And over here is the shear where we enter in the percentage. So I'm going to enter in 86.062%. Don't forget the percent. Oh, I'm sorry. The height, forgive me. So 86.062%. And then that changes those a little bit, kind of shortens them. And that leaves the widths intact, but it does adjust the height a little bit. Then we're going to shear. So the shear is over here right below the height setting. This is going to be negative 30 degrees. Oops. Before we do that, we're going to make another copy. And then we're going to go negative 30 degrees. Okay. Although it did say just the first square is supposed to be negative, so Let's just do it one at a time. So negative 30 for the first one, and then the last two are positive 30. So 30 degrees. So notice how they're going in different directions. We're going to shear, so we sheared the second and the third one. We kind of changed the angle and the direction and the position of them. Then we're going to rotate the first two squares. So we're going to take these two, bring them down, another copy. I take these two here, and I'm going to rotate the first two squares 30 degrees. So we're going to go over here on our rotate side and go negative 30. And you'll notice how they kind of tilt. So I'm going to bring these down, bring this one up. Keep my row intact. Then I'm going to rotate the last square 30 degrees. Just like that. So then we're going to bring all of the pieces together to create our cube. And notice how I'm doing these in stages. Before I go to each step, I'm making a copy of the next. So here, this one's going to be at the top. Try to get as close as you can. Accuracy is really important. So I can zoom in here. Now you have your choice to have them touch, or you can leave a little gap if you'd like, but I think it looks nice if you can get them to all touch. And this one has a white stroke on it, so I'm going to take that off. All right, then I'm going to zoom out. So there's my cube, and that's my finished product. So this is your final product, and this is what you're going to submit. You're going to save this, file save as an Illustrator file, and then this is what you're going to upload along with your MP4. You're going to record. So are there any questions with how to do that? I'll go through it again if we want to see it. Try to kind of separate these a little bit. Keep it nice and uniform, nice and neat. Go through it again? Sure, no problem. So we'll start over. You create your 8.5 by 11 board. You'll grab your square. Click once on your artboard to bring up your rectangle panel. The squares need to be, step 2 asks for 3 squares that are 1.5 inches. So I hit OK. And then I'm going to just copy. Hold down the Alt Option button and click and drag to create your copies. With the Smart Guides turned on, this will help me align my squares nicely. I'm going to align them, kind of center them on my page a little bit. All right, then step 3 asks that we fill the squares in with 3 different colors, one getting progressively darker than the next, okay? This will give us more realistic cube. So I'm going to kind of go in there with a darker shade, and then this one, an even darker shade, like that. Step 4 asks us to transform all of the heights. So now I'm going to highlight this, and once I've filled in the color, I'm going to create a copy, holding down Alt Option and dragging down. With these 3 selected, I'm going to go to my Transform tool, which is up here at the top, or you can find it under Object Transform or Window Transform. So my Transform panel is open, and I'm going to change the heights to the 86.062%. Don't forget to add that percent. Hit Enter or Tab. That now shortens the height, but it keeps the width intact. So this transforms the height. Now I need to shear the first square. So I'm going to copy this. Square number 1 gets sheared, and the shear is right over here on the far right, right underneath the height, to negative 30. Then the second and the third squares are to be sheared 30 degrees, like that. Now I'm going to make a copy. Hold down Alt Option. I'm going to just click and drag it down. Rotate the first 2 squares. So I'm going to grab the first 2 squares. Hold down Shift as you select both of them, or you can just highlight both of them. And they want me to rotate. So now on the left, the bottom left here, I'm going to enter in my rotate value at negative 30 degrees. That kind of makes them go kind of weird. So I'm just going to bring it down a little bit and bring this one up. Still want to kind of keep a row of shapes as nice and neat as possible. All right, and then it wants me to, after I've rotated the first 2 squares to negative 30, I'm going to rotate the last square to 30 degrees. Just like that. I'll make a copy of this, and then this is where I get to assemble the cube. So I just move the middle one on the top, and the far right one goes here on the side. And then I'm going to select all 3 of these and center it right like that. So what I'm doing is just creating the stages. So this is stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, and then this is stage 5 when you bring in your final product. So basically when you're recording, I just want you to tell me, you can go through each step. First, you'll create a new Illustrator document, 8.5 by 11. Then you're going to create 3 squares that are 1.5 inch by 1.5 inches. Then you're going to fill the squares with 3 different colors. And you'll just go down the steps with me, but start demonstrating each step. So I just want to know that you can demo what you're learning. And this will help you practice and get really good at explaining and learning the tool. Yes, hold Option while dragging it. So if you highlight something and hold the Alt Option button, you'll notice how my mouse changes. So if I want to copy this square, if I hold down Alt Option, now I have a black and white arrow. The double arrow indicates that it's ready to make a copy. Click and drag while holding Alt Option down, and it will copy for you. It makes your job a lot easier when you can just copy and paste things. Does that help, Matthew? It's a good question. That one's a little tricky. Any other questions on assessment 3? No? Okay. Let me close out of here. Matthew, if you'll share your screen for me. And we'll practice together. All right. So go ahead, and it looks like it's got to fill. Okay, so can you hold down your Alt? Are you on a Mac or a PC? I'll turn your mic off, or I'll unmute it. So so you can talk. Are you on a PC?
No, I'm on a Mac.
You're on a Mac. Okay, perfect. There's an Option button next to your Command button. If you'll hold that down before you click and drag, or while you're clicking and dragging. Select keep the square selected. Can you select the center, that center circle there? Hold down Alt Option.
There it goes.
Whoa. So close. Draw another square for me. Here, delete that one. I want to make sure we're not. Let's delete that. You can just hit the perfect. Okay, so grab your rectangle tool, click once on your artboard, and change the width to 1.5 inch by 1.5 inch. We'll just use your screen to demo.
Yeah.
Perfect. So hit OK. There it is. And now you should be able to hold down the with your selection tool. Grab your your black arrow, your selection tool, and hold down Alt Option or your Option button. Are you holding that down?
Yes.
Okay. Click and grab the edge. Maybe grab the edge, like the border of this square. Maybe that'll help.
There.
Yeah. Hold on, Alt Option. Oh, well, you had it. I saw it.
Yeah.
Now, do you have 2 squares?
No.
Hit Command A for me.
I figured
There
it out.
you go. Okay, perfect.
You got to release the mouse before the option.
Got it. Okay, yeah. So say that again in case other people are having the same trouble.
So when you're duplicating it, if you're having trouble, you have to release the mouse before you release the option.
Perfect. Okay, awesome. Great job. Yeah, that's a great question. Sometimes it's easy to demo, but sometimes we can run into some problem areas. So in that case, just make sure you release the mouse before you let go of the Alt Option button. All right. Any other questions? I'll go ahead and mute my mic for you so you can talk freely. And then, so you asked, is this the assignment that we have to record? This is assessment 4. So this is the one that you're going to record. Don't worry, the steps are given to you. So you can, if you wanted to, you could just read the steps and show me how you did it. But just try to make it as seamless as possible. You are given a 7-minute, I think you have to do it in less than 7 minutes. So if you practice this a few times before you hit record, I think you'll get it really quickly. You'll be able to do it in just a few minutes or less. So good question. How do you record? So that's a good question. You're going to go to let me go to our assessment here. If you can see my screen, going to go here. There is a video right here. It's about 4.5 minutes. And there you go. So she's going to talk about how to use it and how to record. So you will watch this video. You'll download this worksheet right here. And so once you're done watching the video, it'll show you how to record in Zoom. And then that's how you'll make your recording. So unfortunately, because I'm using Zoom to record this lecture, I'm not able to step you through it. There's no way to kind of demo that. But you'll just watch this video. She'll show you. And then you'll just go through those steps, just read the steps on the sheet, and then you'll submit your MP3 or your MP4 file. But, so that's a good question. So how do you record? And then, so once you watch this, if you run into any problems at all, come see me on Thursday. I would be happy to help you if you're having trouble with your files. And I really want to make sure that your file is working. So maybe come in, or if you can't come in during the multi-session that I teach, go visit one or the Student Success Center and see if they can test your file to make sure it's working, because we want to make sure that we're not running into any bugs the night of the submission. So yeah, so watch this. It's just 4 minutes. It will step you through how to do it. And then you'll step me through how to do this assessment. So it's kind of cool. The shoe is now on the other foot. It's not as easy as it looks. So anyways, I hope you have fun with this. We're going to go into our week 4 assignment. Are there any other questions before we transition? Those are very, very good questions. And you're not the only one with them. So I'm glad that you're sharing. Yes, Sinra, go for it. Do you want me to unmute your mic so you don't have to type it? You can go ahead and talk.
I know I emailed about it yesterday, but I looked at the FAQ and it seems my issue is that I don't remember what email I used to sign up.
Okay.
I think it was the Microsoft account that was provided by the school, but I don't remember
your
that.
Adobe account?
Huh?
Is this were you having problems getting into your Adobe account?
I don't know if that's also tied to the Microsoft one.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
I'm having
Have you
trouble
called?
with everything.
Yeah, no problem. Have you called IT? Because the only one that will be able to reset the password is either the people who issued it. So if they set you up with a password to get in, they'll have to help you reset it. Or if you created your own password, you'll have to go in and reset it yourself. There should be an option to say, like, click on forgot password, and then it'll take you through those steps. But I can, after class, I can email you the IT contact information. And I can also give you Sean's email. He's the one that kind of sets all the students up with the software. So if you're having some issues, I bet he could help.
I think if that's the case, I can just like go to the help page on the class.
Yeah, that might be.
I just wasn't sure if that's something that they would be able to help with.
Yes, that is definitely something they can help you with. IT should be able to help you step through how to get your software. Anything software related, you go to them. All right. Yeah,
Will
sorry.
do.
I wish I was more help in that department. They don't give me much authority in that area, so I don't handle the tech side or the software side. But come to me with any assignment problems, and I'd be happy to help. But let me know if they're helpful for you, so we can get the ball rolling. So you're not without the software. All right. So now we're gonna go through a week 4 assignment. Let's demo this. There's a lot of moving parts with this. It's so kind of bear with me. We're going to go over how to do banners and badges and labels. But first, I want to get through, since time is flying by, I want to get through the meat and potatoes of this assignment. So you're going to bring in the template. Basically, you need to draw a shield. That's the first step. And your artboard needs to be 8 by 8. So you'll go to File, New, create an artboard. That's the correct size. You can use our Shape Builder tool to create a shield, or you can just draw your own. So in this case, you can grab a square. Basically, this assignment is to teach you to use all of the tools available. So there's not just one tool that you have to use. With this pen tool, I'm going to grab the Add Anchor Point tool, and I'm going to add a point here, and I'm going to grab my added an anchor point here at the bottom of my square, and I'm going to just click and drag. Yeah, and you can draw your own. That's totally fine. There's even a template that you can drag in here and trace. So if you're like, well, I'm not the best at drawing my own, maybe I just want to trace what they have, there is a template that you can trace. I was just going to show you a quick way to create a shield if you wanted to. And importing this file really slows down my computer, so hang with me for just a little bit. We might go over time, so for those of you who have to leave, I totally understand. You can catch the recording. I just want to make sure I cover everything that you're going to need to know for this. So I'm just going to shrink down this template. As you can see, there's lots of different shields you can trace, draw, copy. You can use tool, pencil tool, pen tool, or the Shape Builder tool if you want. All right. For some reason, Illustrator is not liking this picture, so I might have to delete it, and we'll just have to go use our own. Okay. Freezing on me, sorry. I might have to delete it. It just does not like this template for some reason. Okay. So Sinra just drew her own for this one. That's fine. You can use this template if you want to trace and create your own. In this case, I'm going to create my own. I'm going to use the Shape Builder tool. I'm going to grab 2 circles. I'm going to make sure this is aligned properly, and I'll turn this off so you can see what I'm doing. So I'm going to hold down my Option button. And that way you can see where these are at. And I'm just going to highlight these and go to my Shape Builder tool. And I'm going to delete. So hold down the Alt Option button like this. I'm just going to delete these. So I'm kind of creating my own shield here if this is the way I want to go about it. I can also use my Direct Selection tool, and I can kind of round out the bottom a little bit, or I can round out the corners. To kind of make my own shield. You can kind of soften it a little bit. So no 2 shields are going to look alike, but once you're done drawing your shield, there's a few effects you can do that you can give it. You can, I'm going to grab all of these little, I group these, and I'll give it a fill. Whoops. So let me start over here. Give it a fill, and I'm going to grab my pen tool, add an anchor point here in the center, My direct selection tool will allow me to pull it down, give it a point. And then I'm going to grab 2 circles. I'm just going to draw them kind of roughly eyeball where I want it to go, but just make sure they're placed. I'm using the corner of the square to kind of be kind of an even point for these. Kind of make sure they intersect and overlap this square a little bit. I'm going to highlight these and grab my shape builder tool. And again, I'm just going to kind of draw a line to delete. And so I'm creating some kind of a shield here. If I grab my direct selection tool, you'll see these little white circles. These allow me to curve my corners. They're great for adjusting corner roundness. So I'll click and drag in until I get the right shape that I want. All right, and then what I will do is I'm going to swap the stroke and I'm going to add, I'm going to make my stroke quite thick and you'll see why in just a minute. So I'm going to select this. I'm going to make a very thick stroke and then I'm going to go to Object, Expand, and I want to deselect the fill and just have the stroke selected. You could do both if you wanted to, do fill and stroke, that's fine. And then go to Object, Expand again. So now this allows me to kind of manipulate. There we go. The interior. So this inside is one whole piece. Hold on. Ungroup it. There we go. So then you can go in and you can kind of, whoops. My Illustrator is just dragging. I am so sorry. There we go. So now I can take out that insert there. Or I can change the color. I can also go to Object, Expand, and this will allow me to make adjustments. So that's how you kind of create a basic shield. You can also trace, you know, to kind of create these cool little decorative elements. But I also wanted to teach you how to do a banner. Another thing you can do with these shields is you can grab, using the shape builder tool, you can do lots of different effects. You can do a flag in the background, or I've seen the checkered style. Look where you draw a square. One, and then I'm just going to drag this one over here, kind of position it. Okay, and then I'm going to select this and go to my shape builder tool. And this is where I can kind of delete the outside pieces. I can even delete this if I wanted right here. So I've got this cool little effect going on, and I could put stuff in my boxes of things that represent my family or represent me. So that's a neat little way to create a shield. Now here's another one. Let me scroll over. I'm going to go over how to create banners, because another thing you can trace. And in fact, I'm going to delete this template that's in here because it is just making my Illustrator drag. So I apologize. We're not going to be able to trace today because it's just Illustrator's just not liking it. All right, we're going to go over here how to create banners, labels, and other things that you might, embellishments that you might want to include on your shield. So let me close out of this chat box so I can do it. Okay, so step one, after you create your new document, you're going to grab a rectangle tool. I'm going to move these over. So this is how you'll create your banner. You can grab a rectangle tool, kind of drag along, give it a nice color. In this case, I'll do like a a dark blue banner or something. All right, so you draw a long rectangle, set its color. Then you're going to draw another rectangle to the back by pressing, you can hold down, in this case you don't have to hold down shift, but you do want to position this one and give it slightly different color so you can tell the difference. Remember, similar shades will help give you a really nice two-dimensional effect here. You kind of make it darker if you can than the original. So I'm going to zoom in here so you can see. So I've got a long rectangle and then I've got a little rectangle. Then step 3 is you want to switch on your smart guides. Mine are already on, but remember you just go to view and then smart guides. And then you're going to want to make sure that you align your rectangle. So I'm going to right click, arrange, send to back. So now the long rectangle is overlapping this darker short one. So then you can select this little rectangle here. You'll grab the middle, you'll add an anchor point in the middle on the right side. So click once. You'll grab your direct selection tool. If you hold down shift as you click, it will, or not as you click, but just hold down shift and click once, and that will help you select one anchor point at a time. I'm going to kind of bring that in. So my banner is already starting to look, it's starting to take shape a little bit. So then what I want to do, this is a little bit tricky, is grab these two. I'm going to open up my Pathfinder tool because I'm going to use my Pathfinder today for this one. And I'm going to select the two anchor points that you see here. So I'm going to grab my selection tool. I'm going to grab, this way I can just click intersect. Oops, not intersect. Sorry, this one needs to be on the front. And then, oops, need to create an anchor point. Hold on, right there. All right, so now I need to just select these two. Oh, I have to go to vertical align. I always forget that step. Vertical align bottom will allow me to kind of align these. And the idea here is to grab this end you can kind of get the effect if you send it to the back. Oops, this one goes. There we go. All right, so then you can select your darkest shape and just kind of right click on your mouse to send it to the back. So right click, send to the back. Now you could stop here if you wanted to give it more of a 3D look. There's more steps to it and I can send you the tutorial, but basically this kind of gives us the illusion that we're looking for. Another thing that you can do, you can create a copy of this. Oops. Select these two. So you'll make a copy and then we'll go to the Pathfinder tool. So this is where it gets a little tricky. So once you've made a copy, you highlight these two objects and you click intersect. And it makes this little square. I'm going to make it kind of dark or a different color so I can, or light so I can identify it. I'm going to place it right on top of there, like that. Okay. Then I'm going to grab, I'm going to zoom in here. It's a little tricky. Grab my direct selection tool and I'm going to select the two anchor points, this one and this one. And I'm going to go to vertical align bottom. You can see how it brought that up a little bit. So we'll do it again. So with this one on the top and this shape selected, I'm going to go grab this one. If you hold down shift, it'll let you select multiple ones at a time. And then go to vertical align bottom. one and this one. There we go. All right, so I've got that shape now. And now I want to bring this long rectangle to the front. Okay, and I'll put this tutorial in the announcement so you can follow along the steps. Once I've created this, it will allow me, I'm just going to make a copy and reflect it. So I'm going to make a copy of this. Going to go to Object, Transform, Reflect. 90 degrees, make sure it's selected on vertical, and hit OK. Just like that. So that makes a banner. What I can do is highlight this banner, and then I can go to Transform. Where is Transform? Here we go. Go to, let me open it up. Transform. So to create a curved upwards banner, close out of all these bars. If I wanted to make this a little curvy, so it looks a little bit more realistic, I just make another copy. Make a copy, and you can change the color to whatever you want it to be. But step 2 is to group the whole banner. You'll right click and click on Group, or Command G will group it. And then you'll go to Effect here at the top. Then you'll go to Warp at the bottom, and then Arc. You see that? And then you can enter in different values. So in this case, I'll enter in 50%, and then I'll keep this at 0, and then I'll hit OK. And what's nice about having that preview button is it allows me to see what my banner is doing. So now I just made a really cool curved banner in that way. And then step 3 is just, you can do a downwards banner. So you can make a copy. Right click and group it. And then you can go to the Appearance panel and click on the Warp Arc tool. So if you go to Effect, Warp, click on Arc, and then you would just change the value. So instead of 50%, this would be negative 50%, and then you'd hit OK. And then you've got that downward banner. So that's kind of a neat way to kind of add some embellishment to your shield. And there's a lot of things you can do. You can add stitched effects. You can grab the line tool and then bring up your stroke panel, go to Window, Stroke, click on Dashed Line, and give it a, the smaller the number, the more dashes you'll have. So this gives it a little bit of embellishment, which is kind of fun, making it look stitched. A way to also, if you made a curved banner and you wanted to put type on it, if you grab your type tool, hold it down, and click on Type on a Path. This will allow you to type on a path, but first what I suggest is grabbing the pen tool, or you can grab your pencil tool and just kind of trace a line. I'm going to turn off my stroke though. Just kind of following your banner. The pen tool allows you to get more of an accurate curve though. So by doing this, you can adjust the handlebars to give you a more perfect curve. And then grab the Type on a Path tool and kind of click on that. Whoops, make sure you don't click on anything else. Just click on that pen tool drawing that you created. And this is where you'd put your name. And you can increase the font. Using your direct selection tool, you can click on these anchor points, these white anchor points here. And this will allow you, or these little extended sticks will allow me to expand the text or bring them in. It's a little tricky because I've got a lot of squares going on with the banner. So I can kind of center it by dragging this bar. I can change the font color, kind of position it down here. I might need to make that font a little smaller. But this gives you an idea of how to kind of style your banners a little bit. And again, by grabbing your direct selection tool and grabbing the banners, the left and right or the center, this will allow you to center your name on that banner. All right. And then you'll just put all those pieces together and hopefully you'll have a really nice constructed crest. Use shapes to create, um, really anything that you want. You can also use glyphs if you go up to, grab your type tool, go up to type, click on glyphs, and then depending on the font that you've got selected, they've got characters too. So if you go to Times New Roman, there's lots of little characters that have already been drawn for you, like music notes, hearts. There's your 3-leaf clover, your spade, smiley faces, lots of other things that you can find characters that represent, and then you can place them on your shield. In this case, my last name's Woodland, so I thought trees would be cool. So what I did was I just found you can trace if you find an image on Google and just kind of trace it, or I just grabbed the pencil tool and I just kind of went around a few times creating my tree. Excuse. Thank you. I must be muted. Okay. So basically I'm just piecing everything together. I'm grabbing my banner. I drew a tree. I'm just grabbing all of my embellishments and kind of piecing them together. So I could even change this to purple, I guess, if I really wanted to. But just come up with little icons that represent you. I showed you how to go find the glyphs. The glyphs, there's a few icons that you could use. If you go to type and select glyphs, type in Times New Roman, that will give you quite a few. And again, there's hearts, there's your 3-leaf clover, there's your spade, your smiley faces, music notes, diamond. There's a sun. If you wanted to use the sun for your icon, go to Object. Type, Create Outlines. And then this can automatically just be, I'm just going to make it white. So this can go in my other, I live in the Sunshine State, so there's California. That represents me pretty well. Pick a font that's fun, that represents you as well, and just fill in your boxes. You can make it really elaborate, the name really big up here, and then put, I could put California, USA or something like that. So play around with it. I want it to look nice. I want you to have fun with it. Use all of the tools that we've been talking about. You can draw icons. If you want to create something, use the shape builder tool, or even just grab an image you see off of Google and try to trace it, put your own spin on it. But there's lots of ways that you can piece this together. So does it have to be your last name? It does have to be your name. I think the instructions ask for that. So let's see, it's your family crest. So what you need is your actual family name spelled out. So yes. Good question. So what I'll do is I'll put some of these, now I don't have all the tutorials typed out, but what I do have the banner one, and then how to create these little badges and labels. They're really easy to make. You guys can head out if you have to. I was just going to go over one. It takes 60 seconds to go over it. you basically grab the ellipse tool. So I'll grab a circle here. And you're just going to give it little effects. So first thing you're going to do is draw this ellipse. I'm going to make it a little bigger. Then you're going to go to Effect and Distort. Effect. And then Distort and Transform. Then all the way at the bottom, there's this setting called Zigzag. And then what you will do is just click on Preview so you can see it. And then you can adjust your values. So in this size, I'm just going to type in 5 pixels. It gives me, a different value. I can adjust the size a little bit like that. You can do smooth if you want smooth corners or just hard edges. I can pick how many ridges I want. So that one kind of gives me a cool little effect, as you can see on the edges. Let's see, what else can you do? You can grab the polygon tool. And click once on your artboard, and then instead of 3 sides, you can do like 20 sides, and that gives you a cool little badge with cool edges on the side. So there's a lot that you can do. I'll send you I'll put in the announcements the tutorial for some of these, but I want you to have fun. Are there any questions before we end? Thanks for sticking with me. I know we went over time a little bit. Any questions? All right. If you do have questions as you start this project, come see me on Thursday. I'd love to have you guys in the multi-session. It's not a recorded thing. It's not structured. It's just kind of open office hours. So awesome. Okay, you guys have fun. We'll see you later.